stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll second. Aye.
Okay, first thing, roofing project.
Right on. You're asking me where we're at on that. Kind of put it on hold for the most part until we get some clarification on a couple things. One is I didn't see the other two bids yet, so I'm kind of waiting on that one. But when it comes to insurance funds, here's the IC code that says that we need to be able to spend the money. We have 12 months to do it because it's an insurance claim and not normal funds that goes to the board. So anyway, with that, do you have any other questions? Because I know that was part of the question you guys had as far as how the money was spent. So I've got that part right there.
Yeah, as far as how the money was spent, I still don't understand why the check was written in December of last year.
Whether I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was written on December 14th or 13th, 14th.
Yeah, it's been right after we got the insurance paperwork, right?
About 3 days after.
Right. And Tim was here. I think he was working with the claims rep that was here, and he was actually recommended because he had done work for the town of Plainville as well.
He was working with,
I don't know if that's Tom's the one who's actually talked to him. So I'm not really 100% sure.
where's Tom today?
He is out of town because he didn't know that you guys were having this initial meeting. So he let me know right after that last meeting that he wasn't going to be in town this week.
Okay. So you have put it out to bid?
Well, as far as the, we've requested additional bids for the project one, which is project one, was down at 31s, and project two, which would be at 32s.
So, point of information, according to the statute, it says that it needs to be publicly announced.
If it's over $150,000
And it
each
is,
job,
it's 250.
it's two separate jobs that they wrapped into one. So it's actually two different addresses, two different facilities.
So at 250.
If you're gonna ask me a question and not listen to me, I actually just spent, what you guys didn't know, I don't even know if you noticed, the attorney was sitting here, our township attorney, he was sitting here last week. And so we had a meeting afterwards, and we went through everything that was brought up, and so I'm answering your questions. Because it was actually two separate bids, is what we should have been got. One for Station 31, it's a different address, and Station 32, it's a separate, two completely different jobs. So they both would fall under that 149 cap. Now, if I get the next two bids and this facility goes over 149, then we'll have to go back and do what you're talking about, put it up for an open bid. But when you look at both combined, they weren't that much money. So I'm not sure what's the confusion on that.
So I have a question on that because last week it was said that the 150 was given for materials alone.
Right.
For one job.
No, it's actually because there's materials already down at Station 31, so you may have misunderstood that. It's not for one job. The gentleman that quoted it, he just put it all in one quote. And that's why we said, no, we have to have each one separate to be competitive.
But it was said the 150 was given for materials, which means the job is over 150. If I hand my contractor, you're only going to hand him a portion. You're not going to hand him the total amount. So we hand them 150 for materials.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but
one.
again, he's being told, he has to separate them, it's two different jobs, he can't just total them together. That's why we already have roofing materials at Station 31, and right outside the door of the station, right outside this door, there's actually materials for these facilities. And so, if nothing else, he may lose the actual labor part of it, but we've already got into contract with the materials, so we're working that part out as well.
Okay, and that leads to another question I have, but I can't ask that. So I've been on many boards here in the town, softball boards, Lexer, when it was a volunteer. It always was required to have more than one signature over a certain amount. Do you have that in place?
No.
So anybody here can sign for
No.
$150,000?
The only one who sign checks to me, that's it.
I think it needs to go in the bylaws, so it takes 2 signatures over a certain amount, but that's just my opinion.
What actually needs to happen is our internal control policy needs to be updated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that check was written to the corporation. There is no indication on the paper that I received the quote on, or that was used to produce the check, that it was incorporated. Nowhere. So how does a check get written to a corporation when it's not a corporation? Now, I know he had a corporation, but when you look at these insurance things that he has, that is all in his name. And here's a paper here that says date issued 6/14/2021, and it says that he's a sole proprietor. He's a sole proprietor. There should be, and I asked for these. I know we can't ask at meetings. I have asked for these, and I'm still waiting. But I want to see every 1099 issued, because I think there's revenue issues going on here as well. You cannot hire somebody who's a corporation, he's totally dissolved it, and have insurance. And you can't hire him, we need our money back. You can't hire him as a sole proprietor when we wrote the check to a corporation. I mean, this is a mess.
Are you ready for an answer to that? What happened to his LLC was the fact that it's happened to me twice with mine. When the state, every 2 years, you gotta reach out to the Attorney General and you gotta renew it. They didn't do it. Since then, it has actually been renewed and it's back active, is what I'm being told. Because right now, he's been in business since 2008, I think it was. He's been in business 13 years, this company has an A+ rating with the BBB. They've been in business, or with a member of the BBB from 2009. So I just want to remind you guys, and
I looked at
especially,
the BBB, it wasn't. Something.
am I a liar again? It's right here.
Well, I'm just saying, I did look at the BBB and it wasn't an A+ rating, so I don't know what
Right there.
happened. I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying that there was a lot of negatives on there.
And terrible remarks on the,
On the Google and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yes.
And as someone that
Yes.
owned a
terrible remarks.
public, or a company that did service, if that one person can screw you up, you might have 50 happy customers, but that one is always the one most vocal. So I don't put a lot into that, to be honest with you. If you had a whole listing of ratings, but when you only have 3 or 4 that's negative, I don't take too much into that.
I'm still not understanding how a check is written to a corporation when there is no indication on the quote, or whatever you would call it, the invoice, that it is a corporation. How do you write a check to a corporation when it's not a corporation? How does that happen?
I've had to get into that a little bit more with legal, but if it's an LLC and he's working as, where's this paperwork at? Working as Haynes Roofing, that's how he's got it set up. I don't know how he's got it set up in the system. Like I had an LLC where actually my S Corp had actually 3 LLCs wrapped up underneath it. So I don't know how he's structured like that.
But it doesn't say he's an LLC.
Okay, for the last time, there's nothing I can tell you about that. I can look into that later for you.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Did you get three?
Oh, by the way, how you been? It's been a while since
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen you.
been a long time. So did you get 3 bids? I'm still confused.
No, we did not. That's actually why I told him, hold on, we gotta stop, because that part was missed. It was a misunderstanding with the IC code, or Indiana code, that says that for 12 months, once an insurance claim is made, we can spend it. Well, the part that was missed was the 3 bids. So that's why I told Tim, or actually kind of relayed it through Tom, because I want one person to coordinate it. And so I let Tom know to hold off, and let's get all 3 bids, make sure we're going with the right company that's going to be doing the right thing for us. To me, that seemed like the fair way of doing it. But again, it had to be all redone because it was wrapped up originally in one, because he just followed what the insurance company had. So I said, no, it's 2 separate jobs, it's 2 separate addresses altogether. So we're kind of starting that process over.
I'm a little
Hang on
confused.
one second for your question.
Well, so you're separating
sorry.
it into 2,
Right.
but it wasn't, you're saying it wasn't originally
They originally
separated?
bid it as one big one, and it's not, it's 2 separate jobs.
Okay, well, so this'll all have to be redone again in the
With the
paper? And
No, there's nothing in the paper, it's just opening up for 3 bids. Until you hit over 150,000 is when you have to do a public bid, and you post it
Okay.
on the paper. And also, there's some contract language that I need to add into it as well. Depending on who, no matter who gets it, we have to actually have some additional
Okay.
things put in there for OSHA requirements, insurance requirements, and a few other things.
So originally, it was one project.
No, it was never supposed to be one project. He just wrote it that way. It was just a misunderstanding when he just went in and put it in the computer. He just
This
wrote it
guy,
as one project.
this man that's supposed to.
Haynes Roofing Company.
Okay.
So that's been corrected as well because it's two separate addresses, it's two completely different sites, it's two different projects.
And so there were shingles over at the other place?
It's Station 31, yes ma'am.
Inside, or?
Mhm. Yeah, they was able to put them inside over there. And actually some of the metal is there as well. Yes ma'am.
And I've only been coming a couple weeks, but I have a question, and don't take offense to it, but when you wrote the $150,000 check, did you even look at the bid?
Yeah, I knew what the bid was, but at the time I didn't process it because I was going off of an Indiana code that I misunderstood. That's why I said we gotta stop and fix it. Is that not understood somewhere? I didn't clearly understand the language of what I was reading, so it just says in there, I have 12 months to spend the money, so my thoughts was, hey, as quick as I can get somebody in here to fix this roof, that not cause further damage to the building, that's what we needed to do.
So is this the first time we've had major
This
work
is an
done?
emergency. No.
Yeah, since I've been in here, yes. So, again, I just wanted to make sure that I did what I thought was right, and that's what Tom did as well. He just thought he was moving forward with it to do best to help protect the buildings and structures themselves,
Well,
based off what we was told.
Well, I'm a little confused. You're gonna have to help me out here. You wanted to move forward quickly, but the agreement is that the guy won't start till March 8th.
That's because we had to get the materials. We have to wait for them. I'm in the same boat at my work. I've got a roofing job that can't even start until July. And we have to order the stuff now, and it's not, so much thing come in until July. It's unfortunate with the economy and stuff that we got going on.
My question is, take it the wrong way, why are you delegating this to Tom?
Because I'm not gonna sit here and do every one of these tasks. It's
Why
part
are
of my
you the
responsibility.
trustee? What do you do as the trustee? Denise handles the clerk's office,
Right.
and you sign the checks, but Tom decides where all the money goes. Tom chose Bottoms Up Scuba for all that gear. They're defunct and have had multiple lawsuits. Tom says we should keep going to Wayne Township for equipment, and they are imbued in scandal. I don't feel like there is a whole lot of good choices being made by Tom Buckrock. This Haynes Construction has kind of like tipped me over because we've talked about how these buildings need work in these meetings, and never once did you guys ever bring up the fact that you were going to file an insurance claim or that you needed to, and we met after you filed the insurance claim, after you wrote this check, and you didn't tell the public that, hey, all that work you guys wanted done on the fire stations, we're gonna get it done. You didn't tell us that. So while everything may be legally on the up and up, it doesn't look good coming from you. It looks like you've handed this off to somebody who's mismanaged a whole lot in his 1 year as chief, a little over a year, excuse me. And he's not even a real chief. I found out he's part-time, he won't fight a fire, and that grinds my gears. How can an entire fire department of people and firefighters have faith in their leadership when their leader will let them burn and won't fight with them? I don't trust Tom Buckrock. My question here today is why he's still in charge of this fire department and why you, as the trustee, our elected official, I voted for you, Scott. I did. I voted for you. And my trust was in you, not Tom Buckrock. He's a hired employee, not Denise McClure. She's a hired employee. The buck stops with you, and I trusted you. And I gave you the benefit of the doubt many times to my own detriment, within my own party. And now I look like a fool.
Okay, are you done? Let me interrupt you. All right, so to answer some of your questions, one, I'm obviously not gonna talk about personnel issues, I can't, right? But as far as what I gotta do for my job, when I trust somebody to say, hey, it's a roof project, I literally just need you to get the quote and run with it. It's not that complicated. It shouldn't have been that complicated. I am not gonna disagree with you, but it was screwed up. I'll take full responsibility for it. It's getting fixed now. And like I said, we did sit down with the attorney last night to say, hey, what went wrong and how it went wrong. So we learned from that, right? So at this point in time, we're kind of like on hold until I actually get everything that we're supposed to according to the state and make sure it's all square, right?
Did Tom disclose his connection to Haynes Roofing and his connection to Bottoms Up Scuba Diving? Has he disclosed those connections to you or this board?
Okay, hold up. This is a two-part question, right?
Mhm.
So in regards to Haynes, my understanding from both parties, they've just known each other through baseball. They don't know each other. He
Okay.
just kind of knew of them over there, but the recommendations he got was from the town of Plainfield. So I don't know if it's somebody he spoke with. I don't know how that came about.
Okay.
And so it just worked out that he did know him in the past, but it's been a couple, 2 or 3 years since they actually was on the ball league together. So that's the only relationship I know. If you know more than that, it'll be news to me.
I know that they're friends, and I know that he's friends with Mike Ellis, who owns Bottom Up Scuba, what's left of it. And
I'm
I'm
not.
not gonna bring that up anymore at this meeting, but
Yeah.
I have FOI requests waiting for me to hit send at the end of this meeting, and I'm upset about that too.
Okay, now the bottoms up thing, I know he started working for him during this time period, but that's pretty much all the relationship I know. But it's not the local bottoms up; it's the
No,
one
because the
out
one
of
in
Florida.
Indy doesn't exist anymore. It's been completely disbanded. There.
Okay, so I wasn't familiar with that either.
He's an
At least
employee
4
there?
lawsuits.
No, he's starting to contract to him and actually start to. He helped us build a relationship with him to one save us money because he was able to get all of our free training for all the guys that worked here that's on the dive team. So that's where that all started, and so he was being he was trained to be a trainer for us. Does that make more sense? I guess.
Yes. that
Well,
makes
she was asking
sense.
too. So the look on her face is like she didn't understand what
I
I was
just
saying.
can't believe that he's working there and then
He was trained there to be
When
a
I
trainer.
saw that invoice, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We can't buy cots, but we can buy scuba equipment at $42,000. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
Real quick on the cot thing, Tony, did he leave the information about the cots? Because I know we talked about that as well. I can't remember where that was at. Waiting on.
No, he didn't leave me anything.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he did or not. But anyway, so the whole roofing project that's got everybody all worked up, it has been put on hold until we get the right bids and kind of see where we're at from there. Because obviously, we want to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you said the town of Plainfield referred this place. Is that on town of Plainfield stationery?
No.
Well, I would
Knowing
like to
people.
see the recommendation.
It's someone that told him about the work. Again, you can reach out to Tom for that. You got his email address. I don't know where it came from. I just know that they did work for Town of Plainfield, and that's how it was part of the recommendation that they got from here.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure, you
No, go ahead. I got more questions, but
All
let
right.
somebody
Yes,
else.
sir.
I'm coming in late. What's wrong with the roofs? Is hail damage or something?
It's hail damage, and then the one down at 31 has got a small hole that's in the roof that had some kind of puncture, from what I understand. But as far as the most of the damage was done, is they're saying because of that hail damage. Same thing I had last
Do you know
year.
what the approximate date of that hail was?
I do not, because like I said, it's accumulating of time.
October 20 is on the insurance
There you
papers.
go.
2021?
Yeah,
Correct.
well, the drill didn't have any sign of
It's a
hail.
pretty nice day that day.
I was,
Yeah, so I have no idea where they came.
I was working on my gutters that day.
Yeah, I have not a clue.
And
what they
I couldn't find any damage on this travel home out here that sits in our parking lot either, so.
Yeah, you might wanna look at the weather that day. I don't
Yeah,
think there
maybe
Yeah,
was
I mean,
hail.
to me,
No
it's
hail.
irrelevant when it happened because
can
at
go
the end of
back
the day,
and-
if a roof's damaged from hail damage.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm asking, I live across the road, I'm gonna get me a new roof.
No, I did too. No, it was actually when ours
Scott
was
got
done,
one
our whole
too.
neighborhood was done over there. It was almost 2 years ago when we actually had the damage. So for
Oh,
what
this
we
was 2
had,
years ago?
I have no idea what this was done. I'm
You
talking
said
about
it was
my house.
228, yeah.
I'm not worried about what he said. I'm telling you what I just said. It was my house.
I don't
I'm
care
referring
about
to.
your
Yeah, so.
I care about the fire
Yeah.
station.
So anyway, so yeah, it's been a little while since our house was actually inspected and we found roof damage because half the neighborhood over there has been replaced in the last year.
Thank you.
Man, no problem. So yeah, you might want to check it because yeah, half of Heartland over here in the backside has all got new roofs over the last year and a half.
I got new.
You have a question way back?
I
Oh,
just,
sorry, there you go. I'm sorry.
I
see
just
you.
wondered, when you found out all this damage was done to these two buildings, did your insurance send somebody out here to inspect it?
Yes.
Or did ask this gentleman to come out here and
No,
inspect
no,
it?
no. The insurance had an adjuster come out and look at it. I don't know his name. He's in here in the
His
report.
last name is Campbell, he's out of Pennsylvania, he's an adjuster that travels for the insurance company.
There you go. So there's no local contact with him that I'm
And
aware of.
this includes the metal roofs too, right?
Correct,
The
yes, ma'am.
damage. Is there any kind of how long have these roofs been on? Was there any kind of warranty on
Been
the
here 2000.
metal roof?
Yeah, I'd say not that far out. That's 2000, I think it was.
2000.
Something like that. So yeah, actually, he would know. How long has the station been here?
2000.
That's what I knew it was right around 2000.
A lot of times metal roofs have warranties too, yeah. I mean, all roofing probably does, but
For faulty, but not
I
for
know
damage,
that-
like,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of damage.
That's
But yeah, if the
outside
product
for
failed, yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry, I'd ask you to get my team back here. I didn't want to not answer your question. Okay, we're good. All right, go ahead, Trudy. I know you got something.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But just let you know, I'm not going to sit here for 2 hours and listen to you. I'm just letting you
Oh,
know,
no,
I got to go.
I don't plan on sitting here for 2 hours either. So, you said at one point you're getting 2 quotes, another point you said 3
2
quotes.
additional.
So,
Okay, you got 1, Trudy. So I'm
okay,
getting 2 additional.
okay, what's the one I
That's
got?
3.
Okay,
That's Haynes is who you have now.
the one for $250,394.
That's Haynes, I do believe, yeah. And that's the one that's done
That's his
correct.
quote.
Yeah.
How do we get the other 2? Are you, how does that process work?
Just looking for local people. Whenever I try to bid something out or try to get work done, I try to find local contractors. So that's what we're doing now, is trying to find local referrals, so if anybody knows anybody that would like to bid it, I'm all for it.
Anybody but LeBaron.
So when you said to bid it, they're only gonna bid on a portion of it, right? So this, the materials is off the books, is that what you're saying?
As of right now, unless the attorney tells me different, because we'd already got the materials ordered.
And that's through Haynes?
No, that's through let me back up.
But
You're
we
gonna try
still
to
don't
correct me.
have the materials.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Calm down, Trudy, shit. So anyway,
Same to you.
the roofing is ordered through Haynes. So to answer your question, yes and no. It's not Haynes that's supplying it. It's actually a third-party metal supplier that's actually cutting them to fit right now. So it all has to be cut to fit for the roof that we have. So they had to come out, measure them, and get it all cut. But Haynes is the one that's coordinating the metal itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it doesn't all make sense that you would pay, so you paid them $150,000?
Correct.
Haynes for the materials.
Right.
That we don't
Was
have.
that broken down on there, the materials?
No.
I don't
it's
have that
just-
with me.
It's unbelievable. You can
No.
go.
Something still is not right about this.
Exactly.
That's why we're still, that's
No.
why we backed up and said, hold on, stop, let's start getting it cleared up.
But you've already paid
Yeah.
him $150,000.
It's being remedied.
And the materials that are being cut right now, who's paying for that? Him?
It's part of, he would have to pay for it out of the money that we've already given him. The money we give him to start the
Do we
job.
know if he still has the money that we give him?
That's what he's actually getting the receipts and everything for, to verify that that's done. So I haven't talked to him today. We're gonna reach back out to him tomorrow to follow up and see where he's at on that, because I need to get the receipts for it. Just to verify, one, the trust that we put in him, that it was spent correctly. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
So obviously he's already cashed that check.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Oh,
What if he doesn't
We haven't
get the
even
bid?
looked.
it was done before
Right.
Christmas.
I'm sorry, somebody,
I said, what if he doesn't come in with the lowest bid?
then we'll.
If you gotta get 3 more bids, you know.
That's what I'm talking about. So the materials part of it is already covered. The part that he would not be eligible for would be the labor part of it to actually install it. So
But
that
you're
would be where it would
required to get
separate.
you're required to get 3 bids on the
Not
product.
disagreeing.
too?
Right.
Not disagreeing.
Excuse me,
Not disagreeing with you.
are you required to get
He's-
3 bids for the materials?
Oh, no, just the job. So
The job in its entirety.
in its entirety. So
But
that's
you're,
why we're
but,
starting
but
all
now
over.
you're separating it out, because
I
you've already
understand that.
paid.
But what we're going to have to do is figure out how to remedy that after the fact, because we've already ordered the material. It's already been ordered.
How would you
Have
think
him
you would
return
remedy it?
There's legal things that we can do to get that money back. All right. So again, here real quick, I just want to tell you guys something. I didn't want to talk about it tonight because I actually had invited Tim and his family to come over here to the meeting, but unfortunately, we have a potential problem. Defamation suit could be against Madison Township right now for the comments made at this meeting last week. That was one of the things that we talked about. When you sit in here and make comments, that saying that this company's out of business, it's stole our money, and the contract hasn't even started, the install hasn't started, the company has not stolen any money at this point. What's confusing about that? How have they stolen?
Well,
I gave them a
nobody
check.
said
Yeah, I don't
I don't
know.
remember
I wasn't
stating that
at
he
last
stole
week's
money.
meeting.
Yeah, nobody.
No.
Well, we
Nobody
got it on
stated
video.
that.
It's okay.
But we got it on video too.
Yeah, so that was slandering the roofing company, saying that we basically, or, that the representatives of the board sit there and just slandered that company a lot last week. So that was been brought to my attention as well. So just be aware of that as That's also another thing we got. So when I have to spend money for legal representation for a slander suit, that doesn't look good either.
Well, it doesn't look.
So
it
what
also
happened?
doesn't-
Oh, so go ahead.
It also doesn't look good when the trustee and the fire chief and the clerk don't come to the board with important decisions on money. When, even if it's covered by insurance, this board, for years, and I'm not talking about since I've been on board, I'm talking about years, has always been left out in the dust wondering what's going on. We now have $43,000 worth of debt with bottoms up scuba. What is the, I mean, when we were in a meeting in October, it came up as a surprise that we still owed $60,000 on a ladder truck, that we needed cots, and we weren't told about the scuba gear that had already been purchased at that time. It's like everything is hidden from the board. Nothing is, when you ask a point blank question, like I asked Tom, what else do we need? What other major expenses do you have? I think $42,000 worth of scuba gear is a pretty expensive proposition that we should have known about. I mean, my understanding also is that scuba gear was supposed to be taken care of by either donations or grants. We were not to spend any money from the township or firefighting funds for scuba gear. Is that correct?
I don't know how you guys set it up. I don't know how it was set up to begin with.
Well,
To be honest with you,
that's-
I don't
that's
even
my
remember.
understanding. But, I mean, it's, if there was some transparency on the side of the trustee and the fire chief, it'd make life a whole lot easier for everybody. There'd be a lot less confusion. And we wouldn't be going through this mess right now, quite frankly. And I don't like going through this mess.
So I have a question. Who is going to be the deciding factor on the roofing company?
It's by whatever the bid is. The lowest bid is what you go by, as long as they fit the requirements of the bid. You make sure they can do it. You gotta make sure they have insurance, they gotta make sure they have a license, all that kind of stuff. So,
Bonded?
yeah,
insured?
exactly. So as long as they fit that criteria, it's the cheapest bid is what you gotta go with.
And tell me again why 3 bids weren't gotten?
That was a. Okay, I'll
In the
try to
first
explain.
place, it was
Right.
an oversight.
It was an
Again,
oversight.
it was an oversight.
And Indiana code just reads that we have 12 months to get it done.
I'm
Tom?
talking, yeah, but I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the bids.
That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
No, how was it an oversight?
Because it doesn't really specify it.
Yes, it
Oh,
does.
yeah.
It's not in the code.
Not
Insurance says up, but the bylaws do.
Not what we was provided did not say that. It just said you had 12 months to do it.
Indiana
And
code,
it didn't say that. Yeah, the Indiana code is
it's very
up
clear,
there.
it's very clear.
And so that step was missed. There's no doubt about it. It was missed.
Anything over 250,000.
Oh, it's even less than
It's
that.
150 that if you had to do a public bid.
So, okay, it's 100,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
so, I'm still, what was the oversight? Just because you misread it?
That's what happened. It was the misrepresentation
You
of how it was
misread
written.
it?
I didn't, because I wouldn't even get the bids.
Who misread
I
it?
didn't get the bids. Is that what you're not?
Who
I didn't get the
who
bids.
misread it?
Tom did from the beginning. And then I just went off of what he showed me on this paper I just showed with them. And the way it reads, it was just like, you have 12 months to get the insurance money taken care of and get the property fixed. So we just went ahead and got a bid to have a reputable person. So we just went ahead and said, let's just move forward. So that was an oversight on my part as well as Tom's part.
More than an oversight.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, to
More-
me, it's
more
just
than
common
oversight.
sense that you would have to get bids.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
I can't even
I'm not going to
imagine,
disagree with you.
with that kind of dollar amount.
I'm not disagreeing
I
with you
had to
at all.
get quotes for my little mirror that was taken off my car the other day. And they wrote it out, how much labor, what the parts were that they're gonna purchase, and there you go. This kind of bid is crazy. And another thing is there's clearly inside talking about this because the amount of money that the township received is identical to this quote or bid, whatever you want to call it. Identical. That would never have happened had not probably Tom said, hey, we got this much money, write your bid for that.
Yeah, I'm not
And
going
to
to
me,
speculate on that.
we got issues. That's an internal control issue and other things going on.
And it's,
Yeah.
not, and it's not broken down into the cost of the.
No,
That's
nothing.
one of the
Shingles?
questions I had to, that's actually what I want to, is further breakdown as well.
Why wouldn't you check that before you write him $150,000
I want to be honest
check?
with you, all the paperwork was here, it all looked like it was supposed to be, and then I was like, okay, everything's solid, here's the insurance papers, here's his contract, and I honestly, I didn't, I just screwed that up. And one last time I'll take, I screwed this up. No one else is to blame but me.
Okay,
Just letting you know.
back in the back.
Yes, sir.
Is the roofer threatening to sue, or is it just?
No. It was just we're getting ahead of it now because it set us up for a potential.
But he did go out of business, didn't he?
No. Never went out of
It was an
business.
administrative dissolution.
It's all it is.
He was
all,
dissolved in
all you do
January,
is you
but
go
he-
back and you pay your late fee for not doing it in a timely manner, which I've had to do twice with my LLC, because every 2 years you got to do it with the state attorney general.
Right.
And it's all you do is pay a late fee when you do it, and it doesn't change anything. You're still in business. You're still active. You still have insurance. You still have your license. All it is an LLC change.
It's just a business entity report.
That's all it is.
But the
It's
insurance-
being made way too much out of this.
But the insurance that we appear to have received is not in the corporation name.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. But go ahead.
Okay, back there.
It's very common practice
Right.
for a roofing bid to come in on what the insurance bid is.
They use the same system. I
Yeah,
wasn't gonna get
because
to that.
I'm a certified public insurance adjuster, and it's illegal for the policyholder to actually make money on the deal.
Yeah.
So typically, they share the scope with the contractor, the roofer in this case, who says, yeah, they're paying this much, that's how much we're gonna charge. I'm not saying anything out of bounds, other than that's a very common practice.
In my previous one of the LLCs I had was a carpet cleaning business, and whenever we did water damage, the same system that I billed from was the same system that the insurance companies use. If I'm not mistaken, they actually talk to each other, so they know what the payments are going to be. That's exactly how a lot of that's come out of. And again, it may have changed over the last 10 years because I haven't been involved with it. I sold that business many years ago.
Which
Yes,
it
sir.
actually begs the next question,
Sure.
which is if you're going for the lowest bid, what would you do with the overage between what the insurance company's gonna pay and what the contractors agreed to take it for?
What do you mean, like remaining money between the two?
Well, let's say, for example, the insurance company says it's $250,000, but the
Yeah.
lowest bid is $200,000. Okay, so all you're gonna get is the $200,000 for the insurance company. There won't be that $50,000 on top.
They already have that.
We already
That's
had
what
the-
doesn't
they
make
already paid
sense.
us.
Okay, well, they paid you out.
Right.
But at some point, when the final invoice from the contractor comes out, the insurance company's gonna wanna see that. Because
Okay.
you're not allowed to keep the overage.
So I've never ran into that before, so I don't know.
I-
Yeah, I appreciate the heads up on that because even on my house, they said, "Here's your check. Do what you want with it."
Yeah,
You know what I
well,
mean?
if,
They
once
just
they
said,
get the
"Here's your
final
money.
invoice, you'll see.
You fix the roof, you don't. Here's your check.
Well, that's what they call it, ACV amount, the actual cash value. The RCV is the final check you get from the insurance company once all repairs have been complete.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, that's not what I would have done, but I appreciate the heads up on that. But
No problem.
now we get the full payout ahead of time, so it is what it is. So once we get the actual everything done, then I can reach out and make sure that that's something we're compliant with. Because that is an interesting thing I've never heard of before.
Okay, we beat this
What are you
one.
talking about? No one said anything about not hearing about insurance fraud. He's talking about how the payments are made.
Yes, okay, so we paid the $150,000 and we got no supplies for it at all at the time. And as you well know,
Well, they
a
were
trust-
ordered because they're
a trust- a trustee, they just
After the
got a
meeting
few
last week.
supplies after the last
But
meeting.
I think you guys have to understand that meeting did not end until almost 10 p.m. That stuff was delivered literally at like 8 o'clock the next morning. I don't
It's
know
already
what
been
I don't
ordered.
know what world you live in, but we live in COVID times, and I assure you, ain't nothing getting ordered to that extent and delivered within less than 12 hours.
No.
That would never
Let's
happen.
back up to December the 14th, when the check was written. A trustee is not
Which was
supposed,
probably when that stuff was ordered, not the day of the meeting. I'm assuming that
I know
was
what
just.
you-
it doesn't
right.
matter whether it's ordered, it has to be, the trustee cannot pay for things unless it's in our possession. If you well know, we ordered a car and we kept the check for months until whatever, I guess it was ready, and then we finally paid for the car. That's, a trustee is not allowed to prepay for anything.
Well, I think according to law, from what I've been looking at, you can actually prepay ordering your materials.
You can. I'm not going to argue with it.
The
I
only,
think
the
you
only,
would have to.
well,
You have
the
to.
only issue I have with it is the fact that the check was written out of last year rather than this year. That is the only issue I have with it, because we have a habit of writing checks ahead into the next year, and I just think it makes life a whole lot clearer. It makes it easier to read the books if you're writing a check in the year that things happen.
Okay.
And that's the only issue I have with
Right
that.
on. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on 150, because there's not even a breakdown. How does anybody know the materials are gonna be 150,000? Because
That's
it doesn't
what-
even tell you what it costs to cut a certain, I mean, that's
What are
like
we
the
gonna
worst estimate
Yeah,
ever.
that's part of what I was just talking about, when I went back and sat down with the attorney and said, hey, we need to fix this, what do we need to do? And that's one of the pieces, we wanna see where materials went, what they're spent for, and how much of it we're getting. So I want a definite breakdown on how that was spent, because again, if we overpaid for materials that we're not getting, I want that money back, and I'll have to pursue that.
Yeah, it should
And
say
the
how many
thing is,
squares and
right.
everything, and it
Yeah.
doesn't, not.
Right,
no
but
disagreement.
to me,
Yeah.
to write a check, you better, if I'm gonna write a $100 check, you better give me a finite breakdown and tell me where my money's going. Because I'm just not gonna write for $100 check and her just say, oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, no worries. Again, I screwed this up from the get-go. I don't know how else to explain it to y'all. I should not have signed that check because I assumed what I shouldn't have, and so now we have to backtrack to make it right. So that's where we're at right now. So again, if you want to keep asking the same question about the 150, I understand it was done in wrong.
Right, it's not,
Completely agree with you.
it's not the same question. It's the fact that, is it really gonna cost 150,000 for materials? And I get what you're saying, it was done wrong from the beginning. But now, we gotta make the paper match what we did.
100%
And that's what's
with you.
gonna happen.
100% with you. That's what we requested, all these docs. Our attorney actually reached out to Tim over at Haynes Roofing and has actually laid out what it is we need and when we need it by. So that's what he's working with them now. So I actually took it to the next level to make sure we was secured on that. So I just let you know that as well.
And the next two bids will also have the
I want a full
breakdown.
breakdown. Yes, ma'am.
Typically, they do that anyway,
Yeah.
without asking.
Yeah.
So the way I understand, you're doing 3 bids, 1 on labor and 2,
No,
no.
no.
3 on labor.
How are the,
The 3 bids we're gonna get, all right, are 3 companies that's gonna bid these 2 projects. They'll have a breakdown of each facility. So I'm not having just labor, just parts. I want a full overview.
Okay.
Because if they're saying that the parts or the materials are gonna be cheaper, I want to pursue that. You understand what I'm saying?
okay.
Yeah, so no, it's not that I'm just gonna be fiscally
3
irresponsible with this
full-
money.
3 full
I made
bids.
I made a bad decision, signed something I shouldn't have, Trudy. I'm trying to fix it now.
Right, so 3,
That's what I wanna make clear.
okay, 3 complete bids as if it,
Correct.
if it had
If
never.
nothing's happened. I want to
Okay.
go back to square one, like nothing's ever happened, bid it out.
Now, you're
2
talking,
different jobs, 6
Okay.
total bids.
and this job here will include all 4 of the buildings that were on this, for this address. Is that how that's gonna work?
I have to go back through. I know it's these 2 buildings and then the main building.
Okay, the 4th one was also done, but the point I have here is the, what the insurance company paid, okay, was well over 150,000 for these 4 buildings. So you're saying that 150,000 and below doesn't need to be advertised, but 150,000 and above would. Is that
Correct, that's exactly what I was told, yes.
So it appears to me that this bid for this property here would be at least 150,000, if not more.
If if we get bids that says it's over that, then we have to approach it as a public bid, correct?
Okay, so is the board gonna be in on this before anything is approved or any of that?
If they would like to be, do they have to be? No, but if they would like to be, yeah. they should let
I
us
just
know.
think that in many situations, they're not being, respected for their position, just like, was brought out before when, Tom was asked by Larry, do you need anything else? What other expenses are you expecting? And nothing's told. And December 8th, we had a meeting. None of this was mentioned at all in that December 8th meeting. And, here we are.
Yeah, no worries.
I have another question.
Sure, no problem.
So she's saying that the insurance wrote this property for over 150,000.
Correct.
So why wouldn't we go get 3 bids and then have to publish it for 3 more bids, because chances are it's gonna come in over 150. Why don't we just publish it, get the 3 public bids, and go from there?
That would
It just, no, I understand what you're saying, but that's not what I was advised to do. Because again, if it ends up coming in, just because the insurance company says that's what it's gonna cost, it's not necessarily what it's gonna cost.
Okay. Then I have a second part question about that.
Sure.
You said you're gonna rebid materials and everything. You already have materials here.
It
You've
doesn't
already,
matter, I wanna know what they're paying, what they're gonna charge us versus what we're getting charged.
I get that, but if it's costing him more wherever he's going, how are you gonna rectify that?
That would be for him to actually work out.
Do we know how much Haynes paid ABC?
No, I
No,
haven't,
that's not
this is where we're getting the receipts and stuff
I
from
didn't
now,
know.
yeah.
He's saying 150, I'd like to see what they say.
Yes, exactly. So our attorney was here last week. We met with him, and they talked the next day. So full breakdown of receipts, expenditures, everything is being requested from them at this
Good
time.
idea.
Do you have any idea what the time frame is before we have the other two bids?
Not right now. No, I don't, because I know that I haven't had really anybody locally that seemed interested in it. So I've asked around to see if anybody else is. So at this point in time, I don't even know that we've got two bids. I was going to reach out to the company that's doing our roof at my full-time job and see if they was interested in bidding. And they're a larger company too. But yeah, same thing they did. They made us pay for everything up front because it is what it is now. You just can't get materials right now.
Do you have a materials list?
That's what we was just talking about. That's what I'm asking them for. Yes.
Who are you asking from?
Haynes Roofing, what they're
No,
paying.
no, I mean, do you have so Haynes is gonna give you the material list that he's using?
That
but
he
I
plans
mean-
on using.
But I mean, if you have a bid, don't you normally aren't you the one who usually comes up with the material list?
No,
I wouldn't be.
I would have a clue.
Please don't ask me.
Yeah, you want me to do
I need to
that?
build a roof.
You'd have this bidding so screwed up? No.
Okay,
If I wrecked my car, I would hope the insurance company
Yeah,
would
I'll say,
expect me to
same
tell them
thing.
what
Yeah.
parts I need to repair
Yeah,
it.
no, but, yeah, that's not for, yeah, it's
I
not for
have
me.
a question. Do you guys have the codes, when it comes to advertising and the amount and, cause I know this, when we were involved in a school project up in Mooresville, Nelson, you probably remember this. There was an emergency meeting called. And so, because, remember they, instead of having it as one project, they separated it out as two projects. Do you remember that? And so, we need to know the codes here,
Yeah, I can tell you what it is.
because
If
this
it's
is very
one-
important
if
in
it's
the
140
future.
If it's 149,999 or below, it's not an open bid. It's, once you hit that 150,000 mark is when it goes up.
What, do you have a pen?
Some of those codes that you wanna find for that kind of stuff, the State Board of Accounts just recently.
I want you to read it to me. I want
Ooh, there
somebody
you
to
go,
read
Larry.
it to me right now.
We don't have it right, I don't have it.
You don't
in front
have
of
it
me
for-
Well, I just
Yeah,
quoted you what
nobody
I
has
was,
it?
I just quoted you what the attorney told me.
She's gonna read
That's
it, Dave.
exactly what.
Here,
I want the Indiana code about
okay,
this.
it's IC 5-22-8-3.
Can you repeat that, please?
IC 5-22-8-3. Oh, I shouldn't have gave that to you. You should have gave me a question.
IC 522, did you say? -8-3.
5,150.
Okay,
So did I quote you correctly?
so was this emergency meeting called to change it from one project to two projects?
No.
I don't know what emergency meeting you're even talking about.
Is
I have
this an
no clue.
emergency meeting?
No.
No, this is not an emergency meeting.
Oh,
I have no
okay.
idea what you're talking
This was
about.
just
Okay.
specifically designed so we could discuss this.
Okay,
Get it
all
ironed
right.
out and figure out
Okay.
what we're doing.
Okay,
Yeah, there was just some
but you are
miscommunication.
changing it from one project to two.
Yeah, it should
Come
never
on,
been.
come
it
on,
should
let's
never
put our
been.
listening ears on.
It's never-
This
it should
has
have
been
been-
explained over and over and over and over and over again. It was written as one quote. He explained to him, this needs to be
I'm
broken
not
up. It
talking
is,
about a
There's
quote.
no
I'm
need to be
talking-
rude.
it is
I'm
two
talking about a
separate.
project, not a quote.
The
It's a quote
project
that you
is
do.
it is two different projects.
It was
He wrote
not,
it as
though.
one quote. He told him it needs to be written as
Okay.
two. It is two separate
it was done incorrectly.
projects.
So originally, it was two separate projects.
I think I can make
Yes.
a different project.
Should have been.
No, originally
Should've
it
been.
was one
Was
project.
that-
That's
Okay.
the way the Haynes contractor wrote it up as one
Yeah,
project.
guys, I've got a little one.
Originally,
It doesn't matter what it was originally. Can we move on? Eric, you have a question?
No, she
But
has
it
a point,
does.
because by state law, it does
it
matter.
does matter.
Whenever you can take control,
It was one project, I'm trying to find this out.
whenever she shuts up, I'll answer.
Wait, I
Go ahead, Eric.
Get a little bit more civil.
You ready now?
You guys are rude.
Okay. Question for the board president and for the trustee. I think you got more than two projects here, which kind of eliminates the whole question of how much money you're spending.
there's 4 separate buildings.
Yeah, we could actually break it down to 4
So
separate
you got
buildings,
4
yeah.
separate projects, and none of them are gonna be over $150,000.
Yeah.
So if you separate it into 4 different buildings, problem solved.
You're exactly right, Eric. But
You
what
got
I was
four-
trying
Four
that's
separate
what I'm saying,
buildings,
Eric.
4 different projects, problem solved, move on.
Well, the reason why I didn't do it in 4 separate buildings is because I wanted to make it easier for the contractors to bid and not break it down so many times.
But it needs to be
But you're
broken
exactly
down
right.
because you've got 4 separate types of materials for 4 separate buildings.
I'm not going to disagree with you. You're exactly right. That's a good. That's a very valid point.
That's not how that works if
Sure it
this
does.
location
Sure it
has
does.
so many buildings on it.
Sure it does. I can't
It's
put
not-
metal
it's just
on this
like my
roof, I can't
house.
put shingles on
I had a
that.
new roof, excuse me, I was talking. I got a new roof on my house. I had a detached garage. That was not 2 projects. That's 1 project and it's 1 address. And so it's 2 projects. It's Landersdale and it's Kitchen Road.
I believe they're building specific.
I mean, you can't call every little building on this a separate project just to play games with.
No, if you pull up in the property record, I think they see 4 buildings on this property.
I don't care how many buildings are. It's
So
one
again,
location.
was this one project to start out with?
Originally, that's.
I'm not talking about quotes,
It's
I'm
the way it was
talking about
presented.
projects.
the way they did
Okay,
it.
one project presented.
But I don't believe that
Yeah,
it
he
was
thinks he knows what
technically
he's talking about.
quote unquote one project. It was one claim filed on both buildings. So that's gonna get into some serious
Yes.
legalese and finding out whether or not the one claim equals one project, or if the 2 separate addresses is 2 separate projects. That is important to know.
Yes, it is, very much.
I think it just needs to be done the right way.
Absolutely.
Just needs to be bid. Same way with the materials we have right now. I'm not gonna go and buy materials from Menards when I can get them cheaper at Lowe's or I can get them cheaper at 84 Lumber. If we bid the project, if we bid 1 project or 4 projects, let's buy the most appropriate materials for
Best
the
price.
most appropriate price.
So then
Who
my-
who cares how many projects we got? I'm not even so sure that the materials we've got at Station 31 even belong to this project. They're the wrong color. So, we've gotta resolve that problem first. We don't have a brown building down there, those materials are brown. So, we've got bigger issues than that we've gotta resolve. So, first of all, let's look at the project as something that we need to do the right way first before we figure out how many different projects we have.
Bottom line is, I think Scott has come up with the remedy, what we need to do, and that is the bidding, and to divide it out into 2 projects. I believe that's the right way to go, and I think we just need to go that way and eliminate all the confusion, all the back and forth, all the whatever. There've been a lot of things said, a lot of things done because of lack of communication, but we just need to put that aside and get this done and get it done right. In the back.
I got a question not related to this. Is this meeting over? Cause, the board, the trustee just walked out without the adjournment. I mean, is
He does
that
that.
customary?
He does that.
Isn't that like a break all the rules of,
Yeah, he's
order?
He's
We'll
supposed
deal
to,
with that in July. For him next
by
year.
law, he's supposed to be in the meetings.
He's too busy.
Hey Larry, yeah, I'll say one thing, you wanna do it right, and I think that's a good thing to do, and I understand, he admitted he made a mistake on it, he's gonna try to fix it, okay, now when you do that, like the gentleman in the back saying that just to play games with money and whether you have to bid things out, on this location, we have 4 buildings, we can make them all separate buildings. I don't think you can do that, but if you could maybe check it out, or maybe I
We'll
could.
check it out, but I personally think right now the way to go is 2 separate, you got 2 separate addresses, 2 separate projects.
I mean, you need to know what's legal. I mean, what
Yeah. I agree.
constitutes, I mean, and the other thing is if you could see the insurance write-up.
You know what, do you mind me asking you a question, Mr. Adjuster? You're with insurance, right?
Yeah.
Adjusting? How does it usually work with the company you work with? And I'm just picking your
Tell them
brain
how that
if I
works.
can. You're a professional, you know what you're doing. This grounds here has multiple buildings. The other one has 1 building. Are they considered the one with 4 buildings or more considered one project? We know this one's gonna be one project.
If they're on one claim, they're considered one project by the insurance company standards. However,
Both of them.
Hang on, he's not done talking.
However, there's a bigger point that I was going to discuss with people, my attorneys, just to find, because I live here, this is my township as well, and I'm not gonna bring any stink to the insurance company on this, but I'm telling you, if they write you a check for $250,000 and you get it done for $200,000, the insurance company's gonna want that $50,000 back. At that point, it's moot about low bid, and I don't know in a civil government agency how you then select a contractor when the bids are all gonna be basically the same.
So that was my question for you. I'm also from an insurance background, familiar with commercial insurance specifically. Can the township bid this out so insurance can say, you have a claim, you need work done? So can then the township bid that out and the insurance company would write the check directly to the contractor or each contractor if we picked one for materials?
Well, they would pay it to you to then pay that contractor, to then get a final invoice from the contractor. But this is the argument I have with homeowners all the time, because I'm a
You
public
can't
insurance
profit
adjuster.
from insurance.
No, and I'm telling the homeowner, you're out getting bids, and the only money you're saving is the insurance company's money, not yours. I say get the best roof you can get put on.
Right.
Which is another different, it makes all this a moot point at that point, but I don't know how to
Because if
argue
you
that.
keep that money, it's insurance,
But
right?
in turn,
Yeah.
that higher insurance claim eventually affects our insurance, the money we pay out.
And personally, I am not opposed to returning leftover money.
Right. The higher the
I
claim.
think that's only fair and right. If we can get it done
Keep the premiums
cheaper,
low.
and
Right.
and Lord knows
Keep your
our
premiums.
insurance rates are high enough as it
Right.
is. We need to do ourselves any favors if we can.
We have to get deductibles, that's something I don't.
$1,000 deductible,
Just a thousand.
yeah,
And they looked at it as one claim.
which we probably ought to look at that too.
So if the insurance already paid, they already paid the township,
That's correct.
Correct.
so they looked at it as one claim. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, we get it done for 200,000, we gotta pay it back 50,000.
So, but that's why I'm asking that can it be separated out now? Because they looked at it
From
as
what I
one claim.
understand, I talked to the claims person in the office, and I don't know if, but I was told it was multiple checks.
Yeah,
Is that indeed true?
it is true.
Yeah.
I got copies.
So they didn't pay just a lump sum $250,000 check, there were separate checks. So the insurance company is looking at it as separate claims.
Oh, okay,
obviously.
okay.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Okay.
That we do know that it is in fact two projects, so we can take that 250 and cut that down to 125, and then you don't have to have the public bids. You do still need the three bids, but it makes me feel better, like we weren't getting the wool pulled over our eyes by our elected officials and his appointees.
I do have a question for Denise if she has a minute. If I'm not mistaken, it is two deductibles, right? A deductible per
That's my
property.
understanding.
Yeah, probably
So-
one for each property.
So that would make that
She's
two projects,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken.
It was my understanding that
There's two deductibles, there's two
deductibles,
claims.
Yes.
The whole, that's why I'm
So it's
saying,
two
the
separate
entire
claims.
time it's been two projects. It was written up as one quote, but it is two separate projects.
But only you knew that.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody saying that.
Scott,
That's how he started the
Tonight
meeting,
he
is what
did.
they're saying
Tonight
tonight. That's
he
how-
did.
tonight,
I'm talking about
that's
last
how you
Right, right, yeah, I'm
But
just,
it-
this
but
meeting,
it's
nobody
getting
said
hold
it!
over and over and
Hang
over
on,
again.
one person at a time, please.
I feel like everybody gets so angry that all they're just thinking about their next question. If you would have listened to him, he said it over and over again. It is two projects. It was written up as one quote. I didn't just pull that out of thin air. He literally said it
We heard
multiple
it.
times.
We heard it, but we had questions about it.
The same question.
You know, I'm tired of being talked to like I'm a kindergartner because I pay taxes
With
here.
not having any proof. I can't trust what he says. So I
Obviously.
needed him to say, we paid two deductibles. I needed him to say, we have two.
I think that was the question that somebody needed to ask because that's very different.
Kept trying.
Let's move on. I think we beat this dead horse till it's deader than a doornail.
The next thing on here is clerk's response to the last
A
meeting.
question. Okay.
Hang on, we've moved on to the next agenda
I
item.
beat this too bad. You yell at me later. Denise, did you want to talk about that?
So,
She's hanging.
I stated last week that I wanted written requests based on the things that were discussed at the meeting last week. I got none. I did come in good faith with a couple of things. After listening to the video of last meeting roughly 3 times, I think the biggest thing that was a concern was the overage of the Social Security taxes. I believe it was basically to the tune of around $20,000. February 18th, March 2nd, and May 5th of 2021, I received letters from the IRS rescinding 2020-941. Actually, let me read it so it's clear. We're proposing a change to the COVID-19 employer credits you claimed on your Form 941, the quarterly tax return that has to be filed so your payroll taxes are paid timely. Our records show you aren't eligible to receive the sick and family leave credit or the employee retention credit under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act and Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act because you're a government entity. Is there any question on that?
We claimed that and then needed to pay it back, is that my understanding?
It was claimed on the payroll taxes in 2020, yes. Because as the payroll company prepared our 941s, it was assumed that these credits were allowed, I think basically all the way around. Then for me to get these letters. One return, $12,397. Another one, $1,460.88. Another one, $6,102.17. Total, $19,960.05. So with that and the timing of these letters, it was nothing that could have been budgeted for. So therefore, all of the payroll taxes are showing an overage to the tune of $19,000, almost $20,000. So that seemed to be something that was coming up last week in the meeting. Is there any question of why we are showing overage on payroll taxes at the employer level?
I do have a question on why. My question is, when you received those letters, why weren't they brought to the attention of the stewards of our tax dollars?
Well, actually, I'll have to look, but I'm pretty sure this stuff was discussed prior. Okay, unfortunately, nobody had any control over this. Nobody. Nobody at all.
We were just looking for an explanation.
Okay.
What were the dates that you got those letters?
Okay, I just said.
I'm sorry, I didn't get them all recorded.
$218.
2/18 of 2021.
3/2.
Pardon me?
3/2. 3/2 and 5/5 of 2021.
Oh, okay, so we had a year that we could have said something.
Well, like I said, I think it was.
And we
but
could have
I'm
done
not
additional
gonna-
appropriations.
I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it.
Okay, well, we should have done additional appropriations
Okay.
if there was an issue.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, I'm
But
telling you
never,
now.
that was never brought to the board.
The other thing that continued to be brought up was the check for Mark McClure and Anthony McClure. Possibly with the insinuation of being family, which we are not. So,
Anthony is looking.
Mark McClure's check, and I have documentation which anybody is free to request. Mark McClure's check on the initial doing of the payroll in October, his check was not on the report. Therefore, it was brought to my attention, I immediately took care of it. There are some things with the software system that I use that you have to be extremely careful how you enter an employee and a vendor at the same time to make sure they link together. One little dash causes a problem. And for some reason, the adding an employee seems to be the death of me sometimes. In any case, I keep trying, I keep learning, I think I got it. So, I wrote Mark a check. There is no physical writing of checks to employees for payroll. There's even the screenshot of how I was to enter the check manually because of the struggles I was having and trying to get things done. My mistake was, I didn't change the transaction because payroll for employees, when it imports, has its own codes. When I pay things online, they have their own reference codes. Writing a manual check, I have to do my own reference code. Unfortunately, I did not take the check number out, and how lucky am I that it ended up being the same check number that was written to Anthony McClure. On October 7th, the bank took out $353.32, which was the amount brought up last week for Mark McClure. Again, this is all available for public review. On December 14th, check written to Anthony McClure for reimbursements on awards, only to find out that he had to pay for himself, but didn't know until he got to the place to pick them up. Is there any questions on those two things? There was plenty of other stuff on the video, and I have all that information. I made it clear I had all that information. I have made it clear since I took over as clerk. I have nothing to hide, and I will provide any documentation that is asked of me in the proper approach. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. In regards to what went on here last week, I do have a written response, and I will be sending that to the board. Is there any questions about this stuff that I just covered? Does this make it more clear as to what happened with the payroll taxes? That's all I have.
I would like to say one thing in regards to having to submit everything in writing by the board. I think that's a disrespect to the board, quite frankly, because the clerk is supposed to be answering the board's questions, period.
So if you ask me something and I misunderstand it and don't give you what you asked for, we now have a problem that I'm trying to avoid from the
Have we ever had that
get-go.
problem?
Well,
Have we ever had that problem?
yes.
When?
Didn't I just send you an email
Yes. you
about
said-
all them invoices you asked for? I, in good faith, made copies, but did I or did I not send you an email in response to those invoice copies? There needed to be more detail.
No,
But
no,
I
hold it,
wanted,
hold
but
it,
I
hold
wanted
it.
to give you
Hold it, time
what,
out.
okay,
Time out.
at the end of the day, the responses need to be in writing to protect all of us. Okay?
The scope
So-
of my email said,
Uh-huh,
and I don't think this is real hard to understand.
well, open to interpretation
I gave you a list, an itemized
Mhm.
list.
of the
that said
vendors.
I would like to have all invoices for those
Right.
vendors for the year of 2021.
Right, which I did to the best of my ability.
And have I complained about it? No, I haven't complained
No.
about it.
However-
You gave me what I requested.
However, excuse me, had you asked me for $10,000 and, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one of the vendors. I don't know, the Mooresville Consolidated, the school bill, the gas bills, from the school. So, had you expected $10,000 worth of invoices and I only gave you $9,000, we have an issue. We have a discrepancy.
Yeah.
The writing helps to save that discrepancy from the get-go. That's it. That's all I'm asking. I want to provide the proper documentation.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is your email not in writing and do you not keep your email?
Yes,
Okay, all right. And by the way, you are legally able to keep from answering our questions in the meetings. It's legal, you can do that. I just find it a disservice to the board, personally.
but you had the report how many days before that meeting? 10.
Did I
Well,
get
Ken,
a
where was
copy
the
of the
questions?
request for questions when I got that report?
The request came because of what's been going on. However, you just said you can send me an email. You had the report on the 14th. Why didn't I get asked any questions then?
Because he was out of town.
Okay, that's not my concern. You got it 9 days ahead of time.
Well, my
My
question
only
is-
thing is, tell me what your questions are. I don't care if you ask them here, but tell me what they are so I can be here and prepared like I was tonight. Just so I can give you the right
Well,
details,
then
because if I
then
don't
go
get the
back to
right
my
details,
question.
if I
go back
don't.
to my question, and now I'm done with this. My question was, then when you sent out the report, why didn't you send out that form at the same time, so we already had
Because
the
the
form?
form was brought to the meeting,
Okay,
okay?
I'm
Not
done.
before, that's it,
I'm done with it.
But
okay?
I see what his point is. You didn't give us the heads up that we needed to ask the questions prior to the meeting.
But I didn't get a heads up about what was gonna be asked. That's all I'm saying. Open communication is all I'm asking for.
Next meeting to be announced. Let's do
Not
the-
good in order. Anybody got any comments they want to make?
I do have one question, and this is the only question I have, and I'm done. Where are we at? Does anybody know where we're at on costs for the ambulance?
That was one of the things that Scott asked Tony, and Tom is supposed to be getting quotes.
I do believe
am I
he's getting
correct?
quotes, but right now, the grant that we had applied for, we're waiting for that
Well,
for April, which I understand what you're gonna say, we need to move a little bit quicker. So I think that's why Tom's getting the quotes for them. Unfortunately, we talked to one representative, or actually our EMS director did, and they're 3 to 4 months out of even delivery, so.
So we should have been working on the
It's going to
survey,
be a
like
little
when we
bit of a
ordered the
time.
scuba equipment, at that time, we should have probably been working on getting.
And that's your
Is there
opinion,
a
that's your
breakdown on
opinion.
that invoice
The
of
scuba?
what the scuba stuff
Oh, yeah.
was?
Oh, yeah.
I want a copy of that, please. I'll send you a request if you need me to, but I
Thank
want
you.
to see that invoice.
Thank you.
I'm glad we
I
have
have
it.
it with
Like,
me.
I have a pond. I want us to have a dive team. I want us to have scuba gear. I am not against that purchase. But I am against the lack of transparency from the people who seem to be in control. And this is not against the board. Because you guys have so very little control over here. It's not your fault. You're not informed. But when we're sitting in public meetings and taxpayers are asking about cots, and at the same time we're asking why we're borrowing cots, they're purchasing scuba gear.
No, okay, you have 3 divers.
It's
It's
a little like our priorities
Sad.
are out of whack.
I do have a serious concern, and somebody may know the answer to this question, but bottom, who trained our dive attenders? Who certified us?
The one guy went,
It's
be trained to train.
It was through bottoms
Through
up.
bottoms up. Okay, let me ask this question, and I think somebody needs to look into this seriously.
Responders for house fire.
Bottom up's PDAI license has been revoked. And what we need to know is if they were certified our divers while their license was revoked.
When was it? Do you know when it was?
I don't know, that's why I said we need to look
PADI
into
no
it.
longer have any association. with
Because
bottoms
here's
up
the
scuba.
problem, if they were certifying our divers and they weren't licensed to service our divers, then we've got a problem. So somebody,
Yeah.
somebody
There-
needs,
if
somebody
you
needs to
do
look
just
into
a
it.
quick my case of Renata Ellis, it's easier to pull her up because she has an odd name. That's Mike Ellis's ex-wife. There was a situation where Bottoms Up was forging paperwork. They were saying that their trainees were being seen by a doctor and that they had never seen. And they lost, and lots of divers lost their EADI license. Now, I believe our divers are certified with ERDI, correct?
that's
It's not
Okay, so we don't have that
EADI.
issue.
So we shouldn't
We,
have
we
that
shouldn't.
issue.
The issue of them going unlicensed or whatever the case may be, from my understanding, was after the fact.
Okay,
So,
Which that was
that's what I
What my
want, that's what I want to know.
It's been
because I
in the
don't wanna be
last
in a
couple of
position
years
to
that they
be-
were involved in lawsuits and dissolved by a court system.
Yeah, because I think most of our divers have been certified
at least 2 years.
At least 2 years.
So the first lawsuit was in 2019. And a lot of their divers did lose their PADIs. I do not know if the ERDI
So
stopped working with them. but I
there's
do
multiple.
know-
There's DRI, ERDI, PADI, and that, from my understanding, I'm not fluent in this by any stretch of the imagination, so don't take me for such. But from my understanding is, you can be unassociated with PADI and ERDI picks you up, or ERDI picks you up and PADI doesn't pick you up. Indianapolis Fire Department is certified through DRI. PADI is private, really, kind of,
More
yeah, it's
recreational.
recreational, thank you.
Right,
Yeah, that's what I'm
whereas
looking
that's
for.
emergency response by
Right,
the
and same
company.
with Dive Rescue International, DRI, so those are even two different companies,
Right.
So we're covered, so we're good.
Yeah, I think
You guys
we're
are all
good on
on the
that.
up and up. I mean, I
Yeah.
would just recommend that anybody that did get trained, you can go on the website and you can look up your number, make sure you're
Right.
still, because
Yeah, I've never had any issues with my certification numbers or anything like that, going through other departments I've been in, so.
That's good to know.
and that's the important part.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Everybody done? We done? Yep.
When's the next meeting?
Well, then I make a motion to adjourn. What?
There is. The next meeting?
We don't know.
No?
Meeting to be denounced. To be denounced.
Got it.
I'm assuming after the next bids come in.
Yeah.
We working out.
And
We working out.
I made a motion.
Been a long time, man.
You guys can look at the bids before the next.